Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera, and things usually go kablooey in a fair few ways. This is one of them. This is the current state of Various Oddities 1.19, and as you can currently see, I've got about 5,000 errors to go before we can even try to boot it and make sure everything works. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a while before that actually makes any kind of appearance, but most of it now, I believe, is predominantly inside of the client end of things. Abstract GUI is referring to any kind of menu, like action result type is part of the entity code, relates to what happens when you interact with something. Like there's a bunch here. GUI drafting table there, just taking up a whole hunk just by itself. GUI's got changed around a fair bit in 1.19, so that might take me a ways. But after that, it's actually looking better. Most of these modules no longer have any errors in them at all, which is nice. Well, maybe not most. Well, a few. Well, more than one. So we are actually able to see, look, magic, nothing in there anymore, wasn't really to begin with, but also, item, nothing in there anymore either. Like, just, yeah, that's good. It means I'm making actual good progress here, even if I can't actually verify that any of this still works. So, but once we get to the point of being able to boot it, finding out if it works is fairly easy. We try to boot it, more or less. And then presumably things go kablooey, because so many things changed with not really any good reason whatsoever. But, oh well, we deal. And part of how we deal is preventing my eyes from glazing over perpetually by tinkering with something else on camera for the meantime. So off camera, I'm dealing with all of that. On camera, I'm currently dealing with behaviour trees, which are a form of AI I'm having a lot of fun with. So we have our test entity, and currently they do 3 major things. They will wander around, they will try to equip the best possible gear they can find within about a chunk, and then when they have an attack target, they will actually proceed with melee combat. We are hoping, by the end of the day, to inject a little bit more ranged combat into them for that. But yeah, things are rough on the Various Oddities side. I have a list of things we can try and implement here. We're categorically not getting to everything here, but we are getting to probably a couple of different things. Because if we can figure out ranged attack with a bow, we can figure out ranged attack with a crossbow, which means we can then make a general branch that just does both, depending on what they're currently holding. And then we can maybe try and get them to take cover. Like, skeletons currently will just, like, move away from you and try to orbit, whereas it'd be much better if they were actually able to, like, find a 1-block tall, like, region nearby that they could stand behind so that you can't really see all of them. Doesn't really help too much because mobs don't crouch, so there's that. It'd be better if they were, like, around a 2-block high area and then just, like, peeking out only when they wanted to attack, that sort of thing, but that takes a lot more coding and might just make the mobs a little bit too smart. You always have to try and strike a balance here, because you're trying to make mobs that are smart enough to be a challenge, smart enough to appear like they're actually thinking, which is much smarter than which is much cheaper than actually making them think, by the way. But the player also needs to be able to single-handedly warp entire armies of them. So, yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated. Shield use and the capacity to actually disable shields. Oh, that's going to be utterly, like, brutal, I'm sure, if we can figure that out. Handling for activated abilities probably possibly not happen in this particular workspace, because that's over in the Various Oddities 1.19 code, so it's not here, so I can't reference it, because I would need to shoot off an actual, like, event that has a map in it and all sorts, but just bleh. And here's a really interesting one. See, 1.19 introduces the Warden and the Deep Dark, and the major thing about them is that they care about sound. They're able to hear when you are doing a whole ton of things. Let's see, if I check a vibration listener, we can get game event for vibrations. Yes, right there. So, there is a lot of different things that count as vibrations. For some reason, under most circumstances, flapping, the sound of, like, the Ender Dragon flapping its wings, is excluded, so people don't hear that, I guess, because that's basically just moving all the time, so... But, let's see, the Warden can listen to a whole ton, the Alley can listen to just the note blocks being played, and then there's all of these. So, hit ground, projectile shoot, step, swim, interact, finish. And then there's the vibrations except flap, which you'll notice you use quite a bit here. There's a lot of those. So many. And having that be part of our behavior tree, or at the very least part of our whiteboard system, so that we can actually have them hear a lot more stuff, really gives us a lot of versatility when we're trying to build for, say, a patrol route. So if their whiteboard has an integer value that's representing their level of caution and it's quite low, and then they detect a noise nearby from a vibration and they mark that location, then they could maybe go and investigate that kind of thing. So, yeah. And then you could use that, just as we do with the Warden, to try and make them deviate from their path and either stab them in the shadows or just go a different way without encountering them. Whichever is more beneficial to your build in the game, I guess. But we are starting off with range attacks with the bow, which means we need to be able to tell the entity to start drawing their bow, and then wait until it is actually beyond a certain threshold, and then wait until the target is visible, and then shoot them. In short. But let's first have a look at what our entity is doing now. And if anything needs describing, please tell me. Because I will otherwise just go very much in a tank tonight, I'm sure. Also, yes, I got my hair done. So it is much more uniform. Doesn't look quite as different on stream, because I actually didn't get the whole thing locked in with color. Okay. So there's our lad, and he's currently looking for some trousers. So let's give him some trousers. Oh yeah, I turned his movement way down for when he goes to pick stuff up. Hover. Okay, pair of trousers. But what if? Improved pair of trousers. Yep, hovers right back over. Yeah, look at that. Regular pants-wearing machine. But what if 2 pairs of boots at once? Can he even fathom the majesty of this problem? He's certainly working it out. Yep, there we go. Wait for the best. Perfect. I need you to not be dressed hideously. So, no, you come back here, sir. So I keep forgetting you're the size of a zombie, so you're slightly larger than me. Granted, most things are taller than me. No. Creative menu, you failed me again. There we go. Okay, so yes, demonstrated perfectly. Considerably smarter than zombies, who will mostly just wear whatever you give them. And then they won't try and upgrade it, but yeah. They'll upgrade it if it's on them, but they also don't actively seek out items, so. But right, so that is all from this particular tree. We're going to define this as a new branch, so let's just close out these things we're not using right now. Okay. this would be a new sequence node, because there's things we want to do in order. And we want to check... Well, first we want to emit an action which causes us to start actually drawing our bow. And I don't believe I have that as an action, but let's find out. No, I don't. Okay. So we're going to have to define that as a leaf single ourselves. I'm going to, because I'm a massive nerd, refer to this as the draw step. Okay. So let's see, mob in dot set item slots. There's gotta be a thing for this. Ranged bow. You've got to be using this. So there's is using item, stop using item. Where is start use item? Because you've got to be in there somewhere. Start using item. There you are. Okay, straightforward. Then we basically need to wait so that we actually reach the full draw. Now, this is a little bit more difficult because we don't really have a concept of waiting in here. So let me see. If we've been using it for X amount of times, let's see if that's a decorator node. What we can do is just say, don't do anything until this one's finished. Which would be, let's see, I need to give you an actual predicate for this. And what is my next thing here? In fact, in theory, we could just have it be the, like, take cover behavior until an interrupt hits for that. Oh, interesting notion. But let me see, where have I used a decorator before up here? There we are. Okay, so do I have in the whiteboard how long they've currently been using their item? Yes, I do. Mob item using, right there. Hooray! Do I seriously not have get integer in here? All the values, I don't have get integer. Apparently not. Oh, right, I renamed these to be mob whiteboard. Okay, so we want to say ticks using is greater than equal to, or rather should be less than, so we keep doing this thing forever. Less than, how long do they wait for using this? Greater than or equal to 20. Okay, so a second. And that would be mob whiteboard dot target. Okay. Let's create an actual thing for this. So greater than or equal to 20. We can separate this as its own value. Then I can insert it as the interrupt for this, as well as invert it over here. So predicates dot not wait. That's there. Set to interrupt. Wait. Right. And now the final step. Shoot an arrow. So start by stop using item. And then basically, ordinarily this would play out just fine for players, but it doesn't work for any mobs, annoyingly. So yeah, I can maybe try call release using on it. That might help. Except that literally this entire bracket of code requires them to be a player. Dreadfully helpful, that. Okay. Why? Why? Ugh. Anyways. Stop using item. Good first start. So, let's see. If we look at skeleton, we might have some idea of what's going on here. Perform ranged attack from the skeleton. There we go. Okay. So that gets us the arrows. There's the shoot command, which changed with projectiles recently. Do I just get the whole thing here? I think I do. I think I do. Okay. So living entity is this entity. Float is the value from right here. Get power for time. Okay. Let's tidy this up. indication of this refers to the mob. Wait, no, that's the target. Ah. But an indication of this is the mob. Okay, and that requires this little number. Where I comes from our storage, get int, takes using. But we can't use get arrow because mob isn't an extension of, was it projectile entity? Ranged attack mob. There we go. So doesn't exist. Actually, have I called the wrong thing? Let's find out. This dot get arrow right there. Get mob arrow from an item stack, which I presume is the bow. Okay. Seems to be the bow. The bow and then the strength, so we do need to factor that in as a separate value. Okay. So much more complicated. Okay, that's saying the position. That's shooting it at the target. That's playing the shoot sound as well as actually spawning in the entity. Alright, so the only thing we need left is get arrow, which is fairly straightforward if we use this function, because that is out of the utils, which is outside of skeleton. Hooray! Let's see. We can possibly exchange this for a decorator that only fires as long as we're waiting for the draw. I think. Yeah. But let's start off by just testing if this works at all. Right now it doesn't even care if there's an actual bow, because there's no decorator node to this. But we can fix that. So let's see, new decorator, has bow. And we're just going to check if inputs first, just the mob. Get item in hand, interaction hand dot main. Get item instance of net Minecraft world for some reason bow item. There. So if all of that, then the rest. And we're going to presently replace our attack melee range, our attack melee attack this with our range attack. Where it is then interrupted if we can't see the target, which is fine for the moment. Okay, let's give our boy a gun. Bow, and I don't think you are currently programmed to pick up bows. Yeah, don't think so. Okay, well that's fine. I can fix you. Let's see. Modify, entity, you, hand items, set value. Item Minecraft bow count 1. Did not work. What did I miss there? ID? Is that it? There you go. Right. Now you've got a bow. I command you. Murder this chicken. Well, it works. Definitely needs some restraint. Definitely needs some restraints. But it works. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, this is taking me back a long ways. This is very much like when I first started modding. The first thing I did was tinker with snow golems to make them into machine gunners. For no reason. Just to see if I could, really. Oh. Okay, so we need better. We need to like rein you in a little bit there. We also need to ideally factor in best gear to include a ranged bow, but nonetheless. Okay. So they wait precisely. Oh, that's probably why. Hang on. Needs to be greater than or equal to. There. Let's see how that changes the behavior slightly. So they're still only waiting a second. But once they are waiting a second, we can have them actually, like, do longer than that. So the longer they can't see you, for instance, the more they're just drawing. Oh, so many. There we go. Much more reserved. Missing a whole ton, but much more reserved. Good. We can actually make out that they're drawing on there. Ah, some actual good Minecraft code. Who knew? Okay. So, where do we define the point where they absolutely should shoot if they can? That is the question. Where do we define that? In theory, it should be a question of when are they, like, most safe to draw further. If their target is, for instance, further away from them and does not have any obvious ranged attacks, but they don't necessarily know if their target has ranged attacks unless it's a player and they're holding a ranged weapon. But then once you get to modded environments as well, you've got a matter of, okay, well, they might not be holding a trident or a bow, but they also have wizard powers, of which I know nothing. So, but I do think we can maybe change this up a little bit. So, just put a selector in here. And let's see. I suppose we can just say, we theoretically can just put a weight in here. So as long as this continues to be valid, it will just tick through that. Okay. Which should mean it shoots at multiples of a second. Let's see. There. So, how do I define when they can actually draw for longer? Because they theoretically should always try to draw to max if they can. Let's see, so let me just rename this so it actually reflects what it should be. Is able to, or should shoot, I guess would be the more specific thing here. Should shoot. Okay. So currently it's just, have we drawn long enough to actually shoot an arrow at all? Where do skeletons cap out? Here's my next question. What is flag? C time. Okay. If the tick's using is greater than or equal to 20, then that bow power for time caps out at 1 via a very complicated calculation that does not really necessarily need to be there, but oh well. Let's see. Input value over 20 would get the number of seconds. Seconds is then squared and added to itself times 2. So it's seconds squared plus 2 seconds over 3, where it is then capped. So presumably it's 3 seconds is the limit. Okay. Interesting Minecraft hard, like, deep dive here. So, we need to check if we can see the target. Because there's not any point shooting if we can't see the target. So let's say... Let's see. We need to get the target in here, of course, as well. So if... let's get... So, if mob senses... Get sensing, as it is now, dot has line of sight to target. If we say we don't, then return false. Don't shoot. Otherwise, if we can see the target, but our ticks using are less than our 3-second margin, then We can determine it by distance, theoretically. Distance alone should suffice. At the very least, I think. So... let's just break this down a bit. So we have to be able to see it. Good start. So tick's using less than 3, which is to say keep drawing as long as we have the opportunity. And target distance to the mob is greater than... we have attack range. That's calculated in our melee branch. Where's that gone? There we are. That is actions, attack, melee. Good. Attack reach of the target and the mob. There. Okay. So, to summarize once again, before I lose my own brain in this, if we don't currently have line of sight, don't shoot yet. If we do have line of sight, but we haven't been drawing to full, we haven't drawn to full yet, and the distance between us and the target is greater than their attack reach. Let's make that actually their attack reach. There we go. Then wait. Otherwise, if they're closer to that, and we've at least had a second, then draw us, like, shoot as soon as we can to knock them back a little bit. Okay. See how that goes. Let's also see how this attempt at a weight value does. Now, the only thing they attack currently are chickens, so this is not dreadfully complicated. Yep, you are drawing to full now, that's good. Very good. Minimum number of arrows used. Doesn't animate like a skeleton to do it, but that's rendering, that's fine. That's not what we're working on currently. We can see the bow drawing, that's the important part. Let's see. I theoretically want to include an extension to stop inside of here, just in case something interrupts this. But it's probably fine. For at least right now. Just means that theoretically we might end up using a bow when it's not what we're trying to use. So, yeah. But I think it's okay for the moment. But okay. Returns true if tick's using is at least 1 second. And target is too close. Or tick's using is at least 3 seconds. And target is far away. There. Now we don't have anything that tells them to move around in here, which theoretically should be a parallel inside. So we have our sequence, and then we have a parallel that tells them to keep moving to within a certain distance of the target. The best range to be using a bow is a rough question, because if you're very precise, which of course most mobs aren't, and sort of by definition most players aren't either, you can do it. You can use a bow from really, really far away as long as the target isn't moving too much. But closer up is much better because you don't have to deal with randomness very much. Now, a detail that I learned ages and ages and ages ago is that when you shoot a bow, the arrow spawns and it has a little bit of RNG baked in. Which means there is absolutely no way to guarantee that 2 arrows fired in the exact position, at the exact same draw strength, in the exact same direction, will land in the same place. Which basically means that our bows in, like, archers inside of Minecraft are, like, hard-coded to not actually be very precise at all. The further away you are, the more that very slight deviation that's added at spawn, like, adds up, and they end up shooting wildly away. So, there's kind of a golden zone wherein it's actually useful to be trying to shoot somebody with a bow. Also, thank you, Dusty, for the sub. As well as Vash's earlier on. I forgot to mention that. Am I winning? Well, we have gone from accidentally a machine gunner to actually drawing to the proper strength, depending upon distance to the target. So, doing okay. Doing okay. But yeah, so that is a thing to bear in mind. When it comes to Minecraft combat, bows are powerful, and doing damage to things further away than they can hit you is always useful, but they utterly suck at accuracy. So, unfortunate that. But okay, right. So we want another... Oh, we want a selector here, really. So, this sequence is handling our actual use of the bow. Let's see, bow motion, I guess we call this other one. And we want to move closer if they're beyond a certain distance, and we want to move further away if they're too close. In short. So for that, we need 2 decorators. Is that an F or D? D. Okay. So if the target's distance to the mob is less than or equal to its attack reach plus 1, we say the target's too close. And if their distance is greater than, say, plus 5, we say they're too far away. What's your complaint? Oh, your complaint is that. Okay. No worries. And we want to say... move closer with our close. Let's see. Actions. Move to... Actually, that should be the other way around. Target too far away. Move towards them. Okay, currently, they do exactly the same thing, because I haven't given this a thing to say where it should move to just yet. And we'll set that to be an OR parallel, so effectively they will keep running as long as any one of them is running. Because otherwise it would break the second that there was, like, nothing going on here. The second we'd hit that sweet spot of about 3 blocks further than they can attack. But, okay, I'll be back momentarily after my first break. So go grab yourselves a drink, go grab yourselves a snack, pop chaloo, get your venison, that kind of thing, and I shall catch you momentarily. See you then. Welcome back, everybody. So, just before the break there, we managed to get the bulk of a user bow branch working. So we've got starting to draw it, we've got waiting for it to be fully drawn, we've got the actual shooting, which is mostly harvested from the skeleton code verbatim, but unfortunately we can't actually just call it from the bow, so yeah, that's what we got. Unfortunate. But we are now working on the actual range management because we don't want them to be we don't want them to try to shoot from too far away because they'll have terrible accuracy, but we also don't want them to be so close to the target that they're going to be in melee range. So to resolve that, we have one, move targets, move to the target at the fastest rate we have, but now we need another one, which is move away from the target. That's a little bit more complicated. So let's have a look at the avoid entity goal, which does a bunch of stuff, but the uptake of it is that it just tries to get a random position away from the target. Probably behooves us to actually make this an action rather than recoding it every time, because there's probably going to be a time or two where we're going to need this anyways. So, public static class move away from. And most of this I expect to be pretty much the same. Okay, so let's see. We also probably want to have a minimum distance value in here. And then more or less this is going to be the same as what we had in moving away. We're just picking a different destination, effectively. So, that is the destination. The position of our target, in this particular case, can be anything we like. Could be the position where we know that there might be a trap. It could be just something we don't want them to be near. For instance, could be the it could be the tree at the Garden of Eden, for all we know. But as long as it comes out as effect free, fine by us. So now we need to call this function, get position away. Now, you may notice that this has been obfuscated to high heaven, so I'm not 100% certain what it means, what each of these values refers to, so hopefully we can find something that works, but yeah. I really should just make it everything to the Pathfinder mob. I don't know why Pathfinder mob is a separate thing, but it is. Okay, and then when either the navigation's done or our distance to that target point is at least our minimum distance, we can stop. Okay. good measure. Alright. So move away from the target at a speed of that. And we're going to say... attack reach... +1. But we can't feed that in, so... We could maybe give this a predicate. For right now, I'm just going to say 8 blocks. 8 blocks is further than most things in the game can attack, so it's probably okay. That's a decent metric. And I really do want to consolidate this into something that's a bit more useful. So let's go to actions, find our weight, there you are, and we want public static final node do or wait until. And we're going to make this take in a predicate. Returning new. Let's see, where do we plonk that? Where's everything? Don't need the skeletons open, don't need the bows open. In theory, this could be a separate class from weight, but for the moment it's fine. So, that's good. Let's go to our branch, replace that. Oh, and I have another detail I can add to this. I can set an interrupt. So as soon as that predicate becomes, like, returns true, we can just bust right out of this. But otherwise, it'll just check every second. So, wait until we should shoot. Good. Okay. That should all be fine. So, let's give that a run, shall we? Then we can start working on crossbows. Okay, so you want to be within 8 blocks. This enclosure does not have 8 blocks of space. It's only about 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's a 6 by 5. So that's not going to help us right now. So, teleports at E type equals test. There you are. To dip. There you are. You're free. Not for very long, but you're free. Weep. Eager, aren't ya? Okay. Well, there is definitely something we need to add there, which is an interrupt to say stop moving closer when you're within range. Whoops. There. Oh. Move away is fine because it effectively has a built-in interrupt, but not this one. Not that one. Also, boy do they move speedily when you set them to 1. Okay, let's try that again with less of CW's The Flash. Well, you moved closer. And we have a problem. Game stuck. What happened? Move away from start had a problem. Okay. What was the issue? Cannot read field X because point is null. Huh. How could point be null exactly? Oh, that's not very gated at all. Okay, right. There. Give it 30 attempts and that will hopefully resolve that issue. But that does mean that he was trying to move further away so that he wasn't within the attack range of the chicken. That's a sentence I just said, but okay. Actually, chickens can be kind of vicious creatures. So that's not too surprising. Chicken. Why you no shoots? Whoop, there we go. I really did dial that down from 1, don't I? Oof. Have you gone back into your wonder? I feel like you've gone back into your wonder. Well, this can definitely be qualified as a ranged bow attack. What I don't understand is why you're not doing anything here. That's what confuses me. Why you just stood here? You've clearly got your thing fully drawn. Is there an edge case in should shoot, I guess? You're doing very well now, I think. Yeah, there does seem to be some kind of edge case in the should shoot predicate that's causing it to not attack when it clearly should be. Okay. Also, yes, let's move this down to 0.5. Okay, motion, I think, is doing fine. Should shoot. So, if we don't have line of sight, is it possible that it somehow doesn't have line of sight? I don't think so. We're in a flatlands. Let's see. Ticks using are less than 3, and the distance is greater than that. Then, if it's greater than melee attack range, then just wait until we've got a full draw. Otherwise, ticks using is greater than or equal to a second, which is the moment that we can first actually shoot it. Being very clever with that. I think that's... we can try checking the log of it, at the very least. So if I go to behavior tree, and every time it sets to running, I map the tree and print it, we can find out where it seems to be getting stuck, at the very least. We don't need to worry about the sub-trees, although I don't think we have any sub-trees currently, so it's a bit of a moot point. Oh, I wonder if it's the combat selector here. It cannot see target. Probably not, but let's find out. Let's see on the left here what is going on. Okay, so let's see, where are we? Apparently we're nowhere. Apparently we are nowhere. How is that possible? Okay, we have attack target, combat, we can see the target, and we have a bow. So bow logic enabled, bow motion is running, use bow is active. Where are we? Which is a sequence where it has apparently ended, according to this. Yeah, it's stuck in use bow somehow. So, draw step. It's loaded the arrow, so we know that part's fine. I can only presume then that it's currently stuck in wait until. How is it stuck in wait until? I don't know how. I don't know how that's possibly happening. Trying to think here. If I take out the decorator part, will it be better? Let's find out. Just wait until that condition becomes true, basically. The good news is, crossbows are relatively easier. Relatively. Namely, if you fired it, start reloading it. And then if it's fully loaded, stop holding it and then fire it. That kind of thing. What are you up to here? Or not, as the case may be. According to this, the root is the only part that's actually functional, which doesn't seem right. Because once this thing is set to run, it should just be setting everything down down the run so that should be run. That's what I don't get here. I wonder if it is the combat like selector that I put in here. Well, if that is the case, let's just replace has attack target entirely with that. See what happens. Unity, I believe this, has an actual visual language-based behavior tree system, and it's much easier to use than this. But this is me trying to make things and having them actually, like, be manipulated live, as it were, would be a little bit complicated. Particularly because I have not touched how rendering is working in this particular version. Seriously, nothing? Are you detecting that you don't have a bow? Is that it? You're clearly doing things. But you're not shooting. That's my curiosity. Did I build too close of a... Is it just because they're getting too close? I don't know. Let's try putting our print out there and see if that gives us a bit more data. This is fascinating. While I do that, I'm going to check out Abstract Skeleton and see what its values are for moving around. Let's see, speed, attack interval, attack radius, which is presumably related to how far away skeletons try to be. Okay, now I'm seeing stuff. So the tasks that actually have brackets, square brackets around them, indicate the ones that are currently active, and somehow we're getting into a wonder despite having the capacity to actually attack things. So I don't know how that's going. So use bow, waiting, shoot arrow, and then the next tick we ended up in wandering somehow, which shouldn't happen because we have an attack target. Yeah, so we are currently inside the wander cycle. How is that going on, I wonder? I guess we need a decorator here for doesn't have an attack target. It should just be a fairly straightforward thing here. I probably do need to shore up the action for wait until here. I'll wager that's where it's escaping. Okay, what are we up to now? We're waiting until a condition is met. Apparently. So effectively what we've got here is multi-threading. We've got two things being carried out in the same tick, namely the motion to move closer or move further away, as well as the waiting to be able to shoot the arrow. Which is conditional upon us actually being able to shoot currently. But let's expand this into its own thing. Let's see. So for this, it's fairly simplistic. We just want to go into our tick in the run, and if predicate dot apply pair of mob in and storage, reset the node. I should make that something smaller. There. So as soon as that condition is met, we just auto-exit. We don't need to even care about having the interrupt in it. Okay, that should tidy that up a little bit. So instead of there being 1 second intervals where it can potentially break out of this, it's just continuing to go through. Hey-oh, okay. Next question. Should shoot. Or shoot arrow. I think this is fine. That all seems to work just perfectly okay. It's just a matter of when we were waiting there. So let's give that one last run, and then we'll start to try and work on crossbows. In theory, we can also work on tridents, but I've not given them tridents just yet. Also, what a rare edge case would that be? That could theoretically only happen if you had specifically died whilst they were using a trident against you. Okay, so currently drawing. Still drawing. That does seem a bit better, but I get the distinct sensation it's our should shoot predicate that's causing us problems. So, tick's using the targets. I wonder if it's the line of sight. It shouldn't be the line of sight, but I wonder if it's the line of sight. How... Let's see, C time here. How do they calculate this in skeletons? Flag, get sensing, has line of sight. It is literally just what we're doing already. Okay, so it's not that, presumably. Is it this part, then? Tick's using less than 3 seconds, and distance is greater than the attack reach of the target. Then wait until that. Simplify that a little bit. So if target distance is greater than melee, wait until we actually can use full draw, otherwise shoot as soon as we can. it does look like it gets hung up in the drawing section. As near as I can tell, that's the part that seems to run the longest. But okay, right, let's try and get some crossbow action in on this, because that is a little bit different itself. Oh boy. Okay. It'll be mostly the same as this, but we need to actually manage the item. Let's see, attack, range, crossbow. See, for that we will still need the parallel for managing our distance, and then we need the whole rest of this, which is a selector of do we have an actual, well, a sequence of do we have a usable crossbow. But anyways. No idea if crossbow item is its own thing, but oh well. What is our problem here? Oh, did I write this in? I think I did. Okay. There we go. Okay. Illager. Pillager, I guess. There. We have charging the crossbow. We're not going to need that, I think. So where is your ranged crossbow attack? There you go. So can use is holding crossbow, get item, instance of crossbow item. Okay, that's fine. We're already doing that part. So, if that's, let's bring in our selector. I should just make this a sub-branch. It already is, basically. Okay, just drop that there. Now I can use that logic anywhere I like. Anywhere I want it. That's the way you need it. And what is your complaints? That's your complaint right there. Okay. So we need a new selector. Use crossbow. And this we shall populate with the values that we need to know for when we're dealing with crossbow. So we start off with, do we have a loaded crossbow? If we do, we should shoot. But the next thing is, are we currently drawing, and have we been drawing for long enough to load the crossbow? But let's start with this quite handily. Now, there is an extremely easy to find. Let's see if I just look this up real quick. I believe this is from Gizmodo, way back in the day. Where are you? Because we are basically replicating. There you are. We are basically replicating more or less this branch. We are looking to walk through the door, open the door, that kind of thing. And that gets a little bit more convoluted once you realize that the door might be locked. It might be in need of being destroyed, that sort of thing. So that relatively simple behavior tree becomes more like this. So, are we in range to attack our enemy, or whatnot? We're more or less making this chunk for managing the crossbow. So selector, is the crossbow loaded? If so, shoot. If the crossbow is not loaded, start loading it, and then wait until we're able to like unload it, and then that sort of thing. Otherwise, shoot. That sort of deal. But okay, right. Let me just write this down so I can keep it straight in my head. If crossbow loaded, shoot. Else, start using crossbow. Wait. And stop using crossbow. Load crossbow. There we go. This is gonna get complicated. I wonder if shoot arrow is worth having as its own separate thing, just so we can actually like drop that in wherever we like. Probably not right now. That I can definitely have, like, start and stop using should definitely be things I can do, but bleh. Anyways. So, new decorator is crossbow loaded. If so, let's see, the ranged crossbow attack goal. How... oh boy. Set charging crossbow. Is that seriously a... oh boy, crossbow attack mob extends out of ranged attack mob now. Oh goody. Oh goody. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Let's see, charge duration is thankfully a thing we can actually get out of it. That's good to know. So we can use a wait until that. Okay. So we want to say predicates pair mob whiteboard of indeterminate origin blip, and I'm going to isolate this as a start using item action. And that can actually just be a method. What's your complaints? No, we don't have to reach out. Apparently not. Okay, what's your complaint now? Ah. There. Okay. Tidies that up nicely. Okay. What is your complaint here? Ah, auto insert. That's what. So we are looking for. Where does it calculate the crossbow state? It literally just moves it. Okay. Okay, crossbow item set charged. Hey Cam, how you doing? Is charged. Okay, thank Christ that's not private like it used to be. So if crossbow unloaded, get item in hand. Surprise visitor day? Oh. Okay. So if our crossbow is currently uncharged, then start using.
I'm here. Hi.
Also, hey Espa, how you doing? Thanks for the sub. We have managed to get a pretty reasonable bow attack running inside of our behaviour tree. We are currently moving on to crossbows. Should this maybe be a sequence? So we load it the entire way and then we shoot it. Probably. Probably. So sequence, load, start using the item, and then it would be actions.wait until. Let's see, and that would be our use ticks are greater than or equal to the draw time of that particular crossbow. What's your problem? Is it lowercase w? Is that what I'm missing? Nope, it's new, wait until. There. Okay. So we want ticks using. Greater than or equal to inputs get first, get item in the hand, in direction hand dot main hand, crossbow item charge time. Okay, and once we've done that, the crossbow. Oh, getting deep in it today. Alright, so when they do that, what happens exactly? What is the arrow that they put in it? Do they just put in a regular arrow? Set charged, get weapon holding hand, crossbow item, set charged, false. Okay. That's where they stop. But I don't see anything saying what they charge it with. Well, we start this easy enough with stop using item. So then crossbow item, set charged. There. Not exactly a short section, but yeah. Let's see, if we check this, we could theoretically add a charged projectile. Does that get called? Anywhere? Nope. Gets called in load projectile. Does that get called in? Nope, okay. Try load projectiles. Release using, which is basically player only. Okay. Actually, this isn't player only. We might be able to handle that. What is get projectile in this case? 4 hooks, get projectile, just an empty thing. That might do it. We might be able to use that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let's give it a shot. There's handling in here specifically for mobs. It might come in handy. Doesn't seem to be actually used anywhere, but we're gonna presume it is. Okay, so crossbow item. Get the main hand item. Release using. We bring out the stack there, don't we? And that is release using crossbow, mob in, get level, the mob, and ticks using. Which will have been immediately set to 0 by us using the item there. So, let's get that value and then do that. There. So that should mean that we are able to load the crossbow. But we'll find out in about 10 minutes after my break if we've actually succeeded in doing so. So, catch you momentarily. welcome back everybody. So, just before we left off there, we had managed to create a cute little behavior tree sequence for loading the crossbow. Now, we need to actually shoot the crossbow. Which I'm going to take as a cue from pillagers here, because they're the only ones that actually do, and there is literally nothing about this inside of the ranged crossbow attack goal that they implement. Little bit of annoyance there. So let's see. Perform. Where is your performance? Surely it's in here somewhere. No? Okay. Ranged attack mob. Okay. Crossbow attack mob? Does that help? Yes. Okay. Crossbow item, perform shooting. That actually is quite a bit easier than I anticipated, I'll be honest. So hey, there's that. It's like, I guess evidently crossbows have all of the handling built in. Convenience. For once. Can you imagine? Right. So, bleh. Crossbow item, perform shooting. Let's see, with the mob's level, or rather, what used to be called the world. The mob, interaction hand, is going to be our main. Crossbow stack, and then 2 floats. Which in this case is apparently 1F. Which I'm guessing is amount of draw. Yep, and then a difficulty value based on the level. Okay. Now, does that automatically set the crossbow to be uncharged? Clears the charged projectiles. I think that does mean it sets it to uncharged. Let's check is charged. I'm guessing it doesn't, because ranged crossbow attack goal actually sets it manually. I'm guessing. This is Minecraft code. It could mean anything. Okay. Let's replace that in our tree here. And give our little test boyo a... Well, let's give our little test boy a run, shall we? With a crossbow. It's like his birthday. I'm giving him all sorts of stuff. Brand new armor, whole bunch of new pets that I keep needing to replace. Bow and arrow, now a crossbow. Now I'm not... There is an element here that I think might break, which is that when we load it, we don't actually call anything to set it being loaded. We do the release using, and as near as we can tell, that should set it to charged, but try load projectiles here may fail, because as near as I can tell, get projectile just always returns an empty item stack. Not an arrow, an empty item stack. So, not 100% certain. Okay. Need to modify your data, please. Stand still while I modify your data. I'm only trying to alter your DNA. Or what amounts for it anyways. Add items, set value. ID Minecraft crossbow count 1B. There you go. Okay, so now you've got a crossbow. Can you murder this chicken? You drew it, but you haven't actually loaded it. Okay. So, that was what I was anticipating would happen. Unfortunate. Means we need to work around, but oh well. So that is a problem because it means that we're not going to be able to put custom ammunition in. So if we have our companions, for instance, have a tipped arrow in their offhand, it's not going to load that. There's a thing I'm going to have to account for later. But good start. Tried to load it. Was loading it before it was even close, in fact. Okay, it's not loaded. Why it not loaded? Where are we stuck now? Okay, it's on the cusp of loading. Why? Why? What's going on here? Move closer. If crossbow is unloaded, load the crossbow. Crossbow is drawn. That's what we're waiting for. Is it the draw time? Is that it? Do I have that value incorrect? Wait until crossbow is drawn. Ticks using greater than or equal to get charge direction. Or duration should be correct. Range crossbow attack. Because that's right here. So item stack. Oh, get use item. That's probably relevant. Probably relevant. Charge duration. Release using. Oh, I was using stop, I think. Let's see, they release it. Actually, they call... That's interesting, they call that part of living entity. It's interesting that that is a separate thing. Crossbow item, release using. Let's see. Still tries to load projectiles. So I'm not sure, but it might make the difference. Might. Might being the operative word here. And it doesn't call set charged. Surprisingly, it only calls set charged here. Yeah. Well, let's hope that's all it takes. A reminder that currently the only piece of AI here that is running on the vanilla Minecraft stuff is just targeting the chicken. That is it. Everything else we're seeing is coming out of this behavior tree. Yep. Chicken. And it's still stuck. Not crossbow drawn. Wait until. I'm not quite sure why it stops using it, but Am I going to have to force this? Like, why does this work for here, but not elsewhere? Set charging crossbow doesn't really do much there. Okay, doesn't do much there. There's not anything in here specifically relating to the item stack, as near as I can tell, so it's not a matter of it just like hard codes. Do I just call that? For shooting part, at least? No, I don't think so. Quite why there's two of these, I don't know, but here we are. Our problem is that the crossbow is not being loaded. But as far as I can tell, perform ranged attack is right there. Okay. Pillager, perform ranged attack, where are you? Right there. Which performs crossbow attack, which calls this. But our problem is that we're not getting here because we are stuck trying to load it. Okay, how do we load the crossbow? Or how do we tell the crossbow that it is loaded? Wonder if I need to... Not sure. Not sure. Wonder if I need to actually just set the... like, just set the held item. See if that fixes it up. Might do, might do. Let's see, perform... No, that's... Okay, there. That's the section we want. So there's the item stack. It's not even referenced at that stage. Just tells it to stop charging. Doesn't actually change the item stack in any fashion, as near as I can tell. No call to crossbow item set charge at all. Do we just stop early? Is that it? I'm really not sure. Okay, that is the most brute force I think I can get with loading a crossbow. Let's find out. Theoretically, there is an edge case here where mobs actually get better at combat than the player does, because players can only right-click, like hold right-click on one thing. Really? Really? Still stuck on that one thing. Crossbow drawn. So let me grab a lead here just so this chicken doesn't wander too far from the coop, as it were. Chicken, come back. Listen, chicken, you can blame it all on me, 'cause I spawned you purely to die. That's the whole point here. You're a little far away there. What's happened? You seriously lost tracking of your target? Surely you should be able to, like, notice that you need to be closer here. Also, hey, you finished loading. That's good to see. Why not shoot, though? Crossbow's loaded. Shoot crossbow. That should be fine. Oh, I guess you're not staying in the hand anymore. Okay. There is some really weird logic going on with this. So we have to set the item in the hand for it to even register as charged, as near as I can tell. There does seem to be a fair bit breaking the item use logic here, and I'm not sure why that is, because nothing else should be using it. Needs line of sight. Needs to have a charged crossbow in its main hand, which is where we put it, and it's where we mark it from. So what's going weird here? Making. We are currently battling with crossbows that somehow are actually harder to use than bows. Not entirely clear how this is happening, but partially because, as near as I can tell, it's impossible for, well, as near as I can tell, pillagers don't actually interact with their crossbows much. So, What is your deal, though? Has attack target, okay. There you go, you've woken up. Oh, you've loaded. Good, good, good. Now, shoot the crossbow. Shoot the crossbow. See, he's not shooting, so it's not unloading it, so he's just constantly stuck in that logic. Okay. Why not shoot the crossbow, though? Guess we need to harvest some more logic here. Say crossbow. This hunk of logic right there. There's swap an unloaded one with a loaded one for villages. No, they do have some degree of calls to it, just not a whole ton. Let's see. 2 living entities in here. Wherein the first one is the mob. So free to free. Hey Crimson. God, everyone's coming in like the last half hour. There's a projectile. Lord, this goes back and forth here, doesn't it? How have things been? We have successfully done bow attacks, and we're currently trying to do crossbows. And then we'll be able to have a branch that handles attacks with a bow or a crossbow. So lovely. And more or less the crossbow has somehow been the harder of the two, despite being point and click. Okay, ranged crossbow attack. Perform ranged attack, right there. Which for the pillagers from crossbows... calls perform crossbow attack. Which performs shooting. Which I thought we had the logic for earlier, but apparently not. Because we were using this and not a thing happened. On crossbow attack performed. Is that a default thing? Or did it actually do anything? Looks like it does do a thing. Crossbow attack performed, no action time equals 0. Okay, so just sets a weight, basically. Like that should be all that we need. Maybe it was just having trouble because we had not a whole lot going in. Not sure. See, get charged projectiles. We set it to be charged, we don't actually add a projectile. But we also can't, really, because that's a private for whatever reason. So... I'm not sure. Perform shooting, set charged, yes, goods. Well, let's give this a shot. If this doesn't work, we're going to have to really hard-code it. Okay, load it. And it's not shooting. Yep, it should be shooting. It is, in fact, not shooting. Which is, in fact, the exact opposite of shooting. I don't know if you know that, but it's true. It's like poetry, it rhymes. Right. We know that it's active, because we can see it's surrounded in square brackets here. So if crossbow is loaded, shoot the crossbow, which is this. The brackets mean it's currently running. This is a single leaf, so it should only be running once before the whole thing, before it resolves itself effectively. So what is going wrong with it? Well, guess we do this part then. But to do this part, we need to know what the projectile is. Where is the projectile calculated? Crossbow item dot shoot projectile. I wonder. don't think we can use this. Firework rocket or get arrow. Oh boy. I feel like they may have overcomplicated this a little bit. So projectile is generated via the item. It would certainly be nice to be able to equip your companions with fireworks and have them shoot them from crossbows. Could be horrifying and very high damage, but oof, you wouldn't want to be near it, that's for sure. Right, well, I guess for right now we just say shoot an arrow. But ideally we should be shooting an arrow at, like, our target. But the projectile goes into that. Alright, this is about to get complicated. That's the mob. This one. Then the second one is the target. I hate that they named it level. It's just so ambiguous. 4 is the target again. And then there's a pair of floats. One of which I believe is based on the draw. And then the last one is based on difficulty. I think. This code is everywhere. Okay, last value that goes in there is 1.6. So that value we can just replace with 1.6. Get projectile shot vector. Oh boy. There's a lot going on here that might as well be written in Greek, and partially kind of is, actually. This really does not need to be a function buried inside of an interface. But it is, so I have to deal with it. Okay, so what is the value there? What is 6? That is the second float that goes into shoot crossbow projectile, which gets called by pillager, which is the last float that goes into shoot crossbow projectile. Which is the last float in shoot projectile, which is 0, apparently. Seems unlikely. Where's I here? What's the value of I in index? No. Oh, that! I know what that is. That's your offset. That is for multi-shot, the enchantment. Okay. So we say 0F there. Let's see. What's it having trouble with there? That must be the projectile, which we haven't initialized yet, so of course it's having troubles. Okay. So our default item is this get arrow. This is a private value, however, so we can't actually use it. So we want items.arrow, create arrow for the level, name stack, and the mob. Okay. God, this is roundabout, but... There. Hopefully it behaves now. But there's a really potent demonstration here of the power of behavior trees, which is... This doesn't have to be on my test entity. None of it, on a single yacht. And these are, for as lengthy as they seem, fairly simplistic. So it's exceedingly easy to go item by item, weapon by weapon, create an individual branch in there, and then just inject that into a behavior tree during runtime, so that mobs actually know how to use whatever they pick up without you having to add more and more and more AI tasks to them manually. And later on, we can also make more complex attack behaviors like charging, flanking, that kind of thing, and gate them behind an arbitrary value like how intelligent a mob is. I've seen you draw, come on. What is your holding point now? Still stuck on shoot crossbow. Somehow. And I also note that we're not actually attacking at all. What is going on here? Did I misname a function? Is that what's going on? Is it some really dumb kind of thing here? Is that it? No, it is do action. It's the same leaf single as start using. And load. We are loading now, so that's good. let's stick. Okay, one thing I have just noticed is we're not spawning the actual thing in here. I've just noticed that we're not actually spawning in the entity. Yeah, add fresh entity right there. That's a thing that I should actually make it do. So that explains why it's not shooting anything. Which also means that as soon as I set this to do that, it's probably going to turn into another machine gun. Just putting that out there. Quite why the pillager plays the crossbow shoot sound when the crossbow will also do that, I don't know, but things to note. Damaging the used item we will be factoring in later, but for right now it's more hassle than help. I know we're also not hearing any sound whenever this gets cold, so let me just stick in a sys out here. We are doing all of the work here. It should be working fine. I wonder if it's worth me applying to Mojang. Just be like, hey, your code sucks. Let me streamline and fix it for you. Oh, now we got arrows. Oh, and we actually unloaded. That's good to see. Okay, you have the capacity to shoot. But I notice you're not actually shooting. What's going on here? I'm also not seeing much in the way of any kind of log. Like, we've got all of what's happening with the behavior tree here, but we're not actually seeing the sys out I literally just added. Which clearly worked at least once, because that arrow's over there. Well, at least you're following. I've got that going. And somehow it broke. That's interesting. I wonder if I need a node that just constantly does a thing, whether or not the thing is viable, until the node itself gets interrupted. That's more or less what parallel OR is, except that there's a condition where it stops. Interesting. Yeah, why aren't we should have been seeing attempting to shoot crossbow in here. Like, a lot. But I'm not seeing it at all, actually. But it shot the arrow, so... Confusion. The state of being typified by me at this exact minute. So what caused that? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. This is one of those moments where this code should be working perfectly. And in fact should have been working perfectly like half an hour ago. So I don't know what's causing this. This is weird. Wait for it, wait for it. There you go. In theory, loading the crossbow should just be an idle thing that he doesn't actually need to be in combat to do, but it does take an age to actually load, though, I notice. Like, how long does it take a player to load a crossbow? How long does it take a pillager, for that matter? Because it feels like this takes a lot longer. Like 25 ticks, depending on your quick charge. Just over a second. I don't understand. I don't understand why that is the case here. Wait until crossbow is drawn, i.e. ticks using is greater than charge duration for it. It is the use item. I don't know. I don't know. Again, it should be working perfectly. Like it should have already been drawn. Oh, now it's loaded. Is there something wrong with the whiteboard, maybe? Is the whiteboard having values trickle in, or some such? Okay, well, clearly there is some fine-tuning for me to do, but we got the majority of this working, so hey, that's good. Yeah, we don't see attempting to shoot crossbow in here at all, which means we're never getting, or we're rarely getting to the shoot crossbow section. Despite the fact that we can clearly see it's active right here. That's the part that don't make sense. Leaf single is supposed to do its action once and then immediately stop. And if it's doing its action, then we should be seeing, like, stuff happen right here. And yes, I do have that correct. That is the right thing. Is start not getting called, maybe? Could that be it? Is somehow we're getting through this thing and then the start of the node is not getting called, which means the leaf single isn't firing? It's about the only thing I can think of. Is running, stop, get active, set running. Decorator doesn't call start. Could that be the problem? I think it might be. Ah. Okay then, let's fix that up. That might be why things are being wonky. It's because we're using a lot of decorators which aren't calling start, which is effectively, for leaf single, the only part that does anything. Which might have meant that this was working the whole time. except for that floor. Well, okay. Why are we shooting so many arrows suddenly? With such terrible aim, no less. Well, that got it. Okay, yeah, that fixed it. It was the decorator notes. Ah, well, at least we got that fixed up. Okay, so now we can make public static node attack ranged return new selector ranged attacks attack range bow and attack range crossbow. So since these already have a decorator at the top to ask if we're holding the right item, we can just drop those in immediately directly. Instead of having one, we now have both, all in one neat little branch. Hooray! Did I not save this? Not yet. There you go. Fixed up. Hooray! Okay. Boy, that took a lot longer than I anticipated because of bugs I didn't know were there. So, ranged attack, general branch. Now, we can maybe add tridents in next time. I don't think it's a huge priority because there's like one mob that uses tridents in vanilla. There's like, and they're also the source of tridents in vanilla, but it would be interesting to have nonetheless. So let's see. Try to take cover when using ranged combat. I'm going to mark that as low priority. But searching for the attack target on loss of visual from last known position, that we can definitely do. Not today though, because we have like 2 minutes left of the stream. Apologies for that. But I hope you've enjoyed watching that these new branches come together. I'm also going to chuck in the melee into that. With a selector. There. And let's prioritize ranged combats by putting that at the top of the list. So if we can do ranged combats, then do that. Otherwise, melee attack. Okay. There's theoretically another detail we can do, which is that at the start of these, we can check if either hand has the bow or the crossbow, and then if that is not in the main hand, swap hands. Which would mean that they would actually actively select the weapon that they need to use to attack things, which would be pretty neat, I feel. But for right now, that's what we've got. Hope you've enjoyed. I'm going to streamline the hell out of this by next week, but we'll see. Next stream should be Thursday. I might be melting by that point. There is another heat wave hitting the UK, but that will be at 9 with probably Lucian and probably Space Engineers. Then on Friday we have Down the Well with the Witch, who really wants to show off some artwork from any artists in the community, so do drop that into the WellFox tag on Twitter, or just respond to my post on Tumblr for it, because it's about the only thing I've been posting for a bit right now. And after that, we should have the carousel on Saturday, with the patrons playing some random games and talking about the week. And we'll be back for more of this on Tuesday. Meanwhile, any videos I make are at youtube.com/lyingtube, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever. And next time. My child grows more dangerous by the day.